Scripps Studios. This is San Diego's news source, 10 News.
This is breaking news happening right now. Sky 10 is over Sunset Cliffs. Crews are working on a driver they've rescued. The driver went off the road over the cliffs there. 10 News reporter Hannah Mullins is on the ground with a breaking news update for us. Hannah?
And rescue efforts are underway right now. If you take a look, this scene is growing. He went over that cliff right there in his car. We believe that is at least a 40-foot drop, possibly more. We're out here at Osprey and Sunset Cliffs. Now, right now, water is hitting the car below. We have Sky 10 overhead. Now, when we first pulled up about 7 minutes ago, someone was lowered down there, and the chopper continued to circle overhead to help get that person on the gurney. We believe the person is on the gurney right now. And from what we're hearing, the person is conscious and breathing but is hurt. We don't know the extent of the injuries. Obviously, they have to be pretty bad to some extent because, again, at least a 40-foot drop. That tide may be coming in, waves crashing, hitting that car right now, and we're seeing more and more, law enforcement members and firefighters, emergency workers out here to try to figure this out. Obviously, a very difficult rescue because of the nature of this terrain around here, very steep cliff. So we have, again, Sky 10 and the rescue chopper circling overhead. We believe he may be airlifted out shortly. They're waiting to get him hooked up on the gurney, we believe, to be able to lift him out of there. We know there's a gurney standing by up here as well as fire engines. We are working to get some additional information. Again, we're told he may have even gotten himself out of the car. That's good news if he was alert enough and able to get himself out of the car. It's unknown how long he was down there, but we want to throw it back to you guys in the studio so we can continue to work the scene and get more information to bring in update. For now, we're live at Sunset Cliffs. Hannah Mullins, 10 News.
All right, thank you, Hannah. One of the things we want to know, too, is if he actually went backwards, because all the damage to that red car is to the rear, to the trunk area of the car, which would indicate, of course, that it went backwards off the cliffs. Now, you can't see it in this tight picture, but there is a parking lot right there, which is a very common place for folks to go and park, use an old expression, and look out over the way. You see it now, it's widened out. You can see where the fire engine's there. That's a kind of a romance spot.
Well, it's a beautiful area.
Delicately, yeah. But right, so it may be that someone was on that facing the wrong direction or facing out and backed off a cliff. That's kind of what it looks like from the wreckage.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, though, too, is that we have been watching those rescue personnel working on that person, on the driver, for quite some time without any clear attempt to try to lift them out of there, taking them to the hospital. So obviously there's some issue there where they're trying to work on them, either get them stable and get them on that on that sheet there, so that they make sure that he or she is very safe and stable before they lift them.
Now, we've seen similar rescues from Torrey Pines Cliffs over Black's Beach, where that's exactly what they do. Instead of trying to bring an injured person back up the side of the cliffs and risk banging them against the side and more injury, what they'll do is pick them up with the helicopter, with Firecopter 1 right there. And as Virginia said, they lowered somebody down there with expertise in how to strap that person in. But it's not necessarily because the injuries are so severe, but because that's really the safest way to extract a person from the bottom or the side even of a cliff, and that's what they're doing right now. You see all the spectators gathering to watch, and as it gets more and more crowded down there, people are becoming aware of the situation. They want to gather and see what's going on. We don't really know the condition of the person other than the fact that they are working quite hard to stabilize that person so they can get them out. And again, this is the Sunset Cliffs, the foot of Osprey. You see that on that wider shot there as traffic is going by on Sunset Cliffs. Apparently it's not affecting the light traffic that heads by there.
Yeah, we actually have Maurice Luque on the phone with us with San Diego Fire and Rescue. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Can you explain what you know about how this happened?
Well, I can't explain exactly why the person drove over the cliff. There is some suspicion that perhaps it's a DUI situation or somebody that might have drugs in their system. They're not acting too rational right now, or they haven't been. Apparently they walked away from the accident, and when emergency crews got there to try to give some attention to the person to assess their injuries, they were very uncooperative. I understand that they partially prepared him for a hoist by the helicopter. They put the person in type of a basket, we'll call it a basket, and they would hoist the person up into the helicopter. Well, this patient was very uncooperative, didn't want any part of that, and was not cooperating, again, walking away at times from medical crews there. the copter is still in the area circling in the hope that we can talk some sense into this and let him understand the importance of getting him extracted. The easiest, safest way is by way of the helicopter.
Well, Maurice, your crews have, sorry to interrupt you, this is Bill, but your crews have lifted the gurney and in fact put it on the hood of the car. We're trying to see here from Sky 10, I don't know if you're near where you can see a television, but
Yeah.
it looks as if the person is on that gurney all strapped in, and now it's on the hood of the car, which you'd think would be in preparation of lifting it out with the fire helicopter, right?
Well, potentially, or up the side of the cliff, they put a rope system in. They might have to do it that way. That's the alternative that they were discussing.
It's preferred, though, to use a helicopter because there's less chance of banging around on the side of the cliff?
Well, yes, and exposes the rescuers to additional potential injuries, too, if you're trying to do it up the cliff.
Mm-hmm. Now, it looked, from our vantage point, as if the waves were getting closer, but in fact, the tide is going out. They don't feel any pressure to hurry because of tidal flow, do they?
No, it's merely the safety of doing the hoist rather than trying to extract the person up the side of the cliff through a rope system.
Yeah. How do you get that car out of there?
Well, I'd probably use a crane of some sort to lift it up.
Maurice, can you give us some perspective? I mean, how unusual is this kind of accident there?
Well, I'm not sure about the frequency of accidents along that stretch of roadway there, but from time to time there are situations, it's rare, where a patient is not cooperative. Many times it has to do with the type of head injury that they may have sustained, which causes them to act irrationally. Other times it's because they are under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
And if a person in shock might act that way as well, right, Maurice?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, because certainly that would be a traumatic experience, and one which it could be, if it did seriously hurt you, would certainly seriously embarrass you being down there like that.
Yeah, correct.
But again, it looks as if your helicopter is still hovering in the area. We see it coming in and out of the picture as Sky 10 widens back out. But nothing is happening except that they have now taken. But there's no one paying particular attention to the person now, so that would lead us to indicate that maybe he doesn't need.
The initial assessment by our crews, and again, this can change. It can change within minutes. It can change between the time the person's at the scene of an accident to when they get to the hospital. The condition can change, but the initial condition of the person was that they were not seriously injured. They call it C-spine, the immobilization of the person's head and back and all through the medical devices they used was merely being done as a precaution because this person did not apparently have any kind of serious injuries.
Yeah, and the driver's so lucky, really, because depending on the tide and how fast the vehicle is moving, I mean, that car could have been taken out to sea.
Yes, it could have been a lot more serious than it is. It's just, right now, it's just a challenge of working with a patient to convince them that the most efficient and safest way to be extracted is through the copter hoist.
Okay, there he goes. The helicopter is hoisting the guy and the rescuer, both of them together, off of the trunk of that car, or the hood of that car.
Yeah, that's the way it's done. The medic always goes up with the patient.
Now, from here, what are they likely to do, Maurice? Take him and put him back on the ground? Well, that's exactly what it looks like they're doing. It looks like they might be taking him over to, if there's an ambulance waiting there on Sunset Cliffs Boulevard. Yeah,
and that would indicate the seriousness of the injuries are not that great. Otherwise, they would do a direct air transport to a trauma center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looks like now. You know, looking as a civilian looking at this, Maurice, it just looks so dangerous to be hanging there from that helicopter over all that.
Actually, it's a real safe way, you know. And I mean, 10 years I've worked there at the fire department. I mean, there's never been any kind of bad outcome doing it that way.
Well, you know what? As I said that, though, the helicopter now appears to be pulling the victim and the medic up into the craft and continuing to fly on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it may be that they decided to just do a direct transfer to the hospital.
Now, where are they likely to take him from here?
Again, it depends on what trauma center can take him right away. Quick Scripps, La Jolla, could be the hospital downtown, Mercy. Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as the nature of this type of accident, you said it's pretty rare. I mean, the beauty of that area, you know, the constant struggle of, you know, do you put up fences, do you do something to try to help people not do this, but then that also would end up obstructing views and causing, you know, putting man-made things where nature is so beautiful.
Yeah, potentially causing possibility of additional accidents too. So.
Yeah, that's true. Maurice Luque, spokesperson for San Diego Fire Rescue, thank you so much for spending some time with us and walking us through this, what has turned out to be a pretty dramatic rescue off the beach at Sunset Cliffs. Appreciate your time, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get over to Robert Santos in the 10 News Pinpoint Weather Center. You're the one that told us a minute ago that the tide's going out, so that's good news.
Yeah, that's good news. At least for the next 3 hours, we'll be